Welcome to What's Going On, a television show that was designed especially for you to keep you informed to what's going on right here in your community. I'm your host, Bishop Lorenzo Lawson, the host that love you the most. And we're going to have a wonderful show today. Also, What's Going On is designed that you can be participated in this show. You can do that by several means. You can be in the audience. We are live every first Tuesday of the month, except next month we're going to be here on the first Wednesday because of the city council situation. But you can come and you can be a part as a live studio audience. And on your screen, you'll see other means of being able to participate in this show via Twitter, email, or you can even call in. So thank you for tuning in, and we're going to just jump right into the show. I have a special guest here, a good brother of mine. We have been working together throughout the years since I've been back in Columbia. Amazing young man, and I say a young man because I don't find very many young men at his age that have dedicated himself to champion the cause of community issues. And that's my brother, Tyree Byndom. Tyree is a man of many talents and abilities. He's the CEO of a local consulting firm, Byndom, Staten and Associates, and the founder of Coppa 2 Gold?
Top of the Gold.
Top of the Gold Entertainment record label, which is focused on service and philanthropy. He's a weekly talk show host, and we are co-hosts at a local radio station, KOPN 89.5 FM, every Saturday. He's there from 2 to 6, as well as helping in all different kinds of programs and wherever anyone need him. He's also a long-standing, strong member of the Baha'i faith, which is one of the youngest of the world's religious movement, which he admits as his motivation for being so active in the community. He's an active father, a wonderful husband. He's the 2012 winner of the Columbia Value Diversity Celebration Awards that is given every year to someone who exemplify following in the footsteps of Dr. Martin Luther King. In 2013, he was the recipient of the Black Man's Rock Award for community service. But he calls himself a community servant, even though many calls him a community leader. He is currently serving on the mayor's task force for community violence with myself and is working on the prevention subcommittee as a co-facilitator of the community participation plan for engaging the community on dialogue concerning violence in this community. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo, and congratulations for being here in this venue. This is it's pretty awesome, and definitely proud of you to be here. It shows a lot.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, one of the things that we're doing is we want our community to be enlightened, kept up to date with what's going on in this community. And television, especially cat TV, is a very, very lucrative outlet for us to do that. And so that's what we're doing every Tuesday at 5 a.m. for a half an hour. We just want to get the word out of what we're doing. And that's the reason why I asked you to be a part of this show, because you play a vital part in most of the things that's going on in this community. And that's what I want to get into. I want you to be free to talk about anything, but I definitely want our listening audience and those that's here in this audience to feel free to ask us about what's going on with the task force. A lot of folks got some misconception about what the task force is all about. There's I mean, some folks, they look at the media, and we know that the media got a certain way of slanting the stories to be able to sell and get advertisement. But we're here today to just tell it like it is, what's going on in this community. So with that in mind, I just want to ask you to give the audience a kind of a background why, number one, that you accepted the position, and number two, what you think that you bring to that to the task force that's unique from anyone else.
First, thank you for the introduction and the kind words. I really appreciate it. And it's interesting that a lot of times when I'm out in the community, people will confuse us for each other.
Yes.
And I am so glad that you are a good brother, because sometimes I've been in a really tough predicament.
Mm-hmm.
There's one time a lady came up to me and she was like, "Well, Bishop, I'm having a tough day," and she was like, "Can you pray for me?" And I did not want to tell her that I was not you, so I was like, "Let us pray," and it was a good prayer. So you would definitely be proud.
Amen.
The task force, for the people that don't know, the mayor went through a process to create a task force.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll give some of the backstory. First of all, Laura Nauser, the 5th Ward council person,
Mm-hmm.
went in front of City Council in 2008 and made mention that we had a gang problem.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, the community really didn't necessarily hear what she was trying to say, and after that happened, I remember having a conversation with former councilperson Almeda Creighton, somebody that we hold dear, and Wina Faye. And they had mentioned both that this community does have a gang problem and have had a gang problem for quite some time. And I remember Wina Faye, in one of the last shows, she shared that she's been asking for this for over 20 years. And she was even told many times to not bring it up or not even say the word. So one of the things that, there was a few people that I didn't see when Laura went in front of City Council just recently, I think in 2012 or 2013, and brought it again and actually shared a presentation that she thinks that we do have a gang problem, and here's some of the research that she's done. So from that time, I talked to her and I was like, "Hey, I would like to read the report and see what it is you're talking about." So I read the report, I was pretty impressed with it, and from that moment, I was already working. I didn't really have too much free time, but I offered my services just as a citizen, as an individual who happens to be pretty good as a consultant and social media and communication. And I just worked through that process to offer my assistance.
Okay.
I had a few conversations with the mayor, and he flat out asked, "Do we have this issue?" And I was like, it's different when you have a group of individuals that are trying to have a sense of belongingness, that are trying to make some income and are in a hopeless situation. We can label them a gang or a thug, but the reality is these are individuals that want to take care of their family just like anyone else and want an opportunity. So I said there's a bigger issue than just a gang problem.
Exactly.
And so I was, after that conversation, I was really impressed that the mayor came out with a 6-pointed strategy, one being to have more officers. The next is to be aware that there's a sense of parental process, support that needs to happen, activities. So all of the basic ones that from the League of Cities, the National League of Cities, and that most people is like a no-brainer. I've been in Columbia 30 years, so I barely made it through this city that you call Columbia without any blemishes on my background or my record, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and I had a mom that was there, that was active, and I still, had a couple of times where I got in trouble, but I did so as a young man, so I didn't have to do so older, and it's not something that forced me to become a second-class citizen. So,
Well, when you say a second-class citizen, define what you're talking about. What does that mean?
well, Michelle Alexander wrote a book called The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. And she mentions that when you have a misdemeanor or for sure felony, even though you do your time for your crime, because there's no way around doing your time. You're going to do your time. But society has a different standard when it comes to once you do the time, individuals come back to this community, and everyone that gets in trouble is going to come back to the community that they came from. And they're going to continue to do the same processes, even though it's going to be a lot more difficult because the technology has advanced 3, 5, 10 years from where they were, and there's no training or anything to allow them to acclimate back into to be a productive member of society. And if society doesn't allow them to have something that they're good at, or at least to make some resemblance of a living, they're going to continue to go back. And most that spend more than 5 to 10 years are already institutionalized, and it might be very difficult. So second-class citizen means that once you have a felony, you are always lower than the rest of us.
Oh, okay. And that's from Michelle Alexander.
It's a good book. It's one that I've studied for the past 10 years, and I wish that it wasn't true. But part of this process on the task force is about awareness and about a culture. And once you do the crime, you do your time. Justice basically says that individual, that there shouldn't be anything else that's there for that individual. But kids know that that's just not the case.
So the perspective that you bring into the task force is from what persuasion, if I were to categorize what persuasion you are bringing to the task force, what would it be?
The way that I see myself and the way that other people see me is a lot of times different. And I'm pretty adept at putting on different hats and really focusing on that role. When I do our show on the weekends, for instance, I have a hip hop role. So as a DJ and an MC, I take that hat off and we focus on straight talk with community issues. I take that hat off and I focus on the spirit. So I'm able to do that and have been able to be adept in that way. So on the task force, I'm there as an advocate for the youth, as really, even though we don't have youth on the task force, I'm really playing, that's the role that I'm there, is to be an advocate for the youth and to be a youth or an MC. So really representing the hip hop community and someone who has evolved from an MC and a poet to an activist to a consultant to a community servant.
And so you're still connected. You're still connected to the youth in the Columbia area.
I have to be because I have so many kids. But the interesting thing is, I'm definitely still a big kid. Even though I put on my big boy pants and I'm mature.
Put your tie on.
Put my tie on.
Yeah.
While we're crossing the street. I'm still a kid at heart, man. And I know how to play and get right there with my kids. And sometimes you lose that.
So the task force is against on community violence.
Yes.
Most folks that I talk to, they think that it's strictly what the newspaper is putting out, the shootings, that type of violence. Do it cover more than that?
Great question. Community violence there's 4 different categories. So there's going to be any robberies, any shootings, rape, any burglaries. So there's going to be certain categories and it's not necessarily something that we set, but from the federal standpoint, from the statutes, it's set up what they consider to be violent crime. And so our task is one that's very difficult, Lorenzo. This is something that's been passed down for hundreds of years. Columbia has been a city that's been here for quite a while, I think 120 years old. And there's many cities all over the nation that don't have an answer. You look at July 4th, there was over 85 shootings and 20 deaths in Chicago.
Right.
And so this is an epidemic. And not too many communities even have this process that's going forward, I would say there's been less than 30 communities who have a formal report and a process that they're going through in order to combat it, to even look at it. And so, that's what community violence is, and we've been given a task to really focus on that specific thing. But when the shooting happened in downtown on 8th or 10th and Broadway, when it happened randomly in different places, that's when it really got the attention that this is not just a black issue. This is not just a class issue. This is not just a race issue. This is a community issue.
Yes.
And it's something that we need to really look at and figure out. And so this is a process that we've been going through. And the media, they're going to be the media. There's also a process that one of the roles that I've taken on the task force, and you can probably attest to this, is when we're in our meetings, I always make it a point to talk to the journalists. We have one of the #1 journalism cities in the world, probably the top 5.
Right.
And so the journalists bother me and you pretty much on a consistent basis. And so I've been able to create a relationship with them that's reciprocal, that holds them to a higher standard to be a true journalist and not just report gore and report and sell papers, but to share the facts. And so by having that long-standing relationship with them, I think that with the Missourian and the Tribune and the Columbia Heartbeat, they've shared what they need to share to sell papers, but there's also been some honest reporting as well. So it's been some give and take.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, you don't have to hype up, what's going on. It is what it is. Right. I have my qualms about, how the media portrays black men. And, just today, I seen where that link that you sent me.
Yes.
It is what it is. One of the things that I did wanted to ask you is about your role as the committee co-facilitator, and can you give my audience a little bit of insight on what that's all about?
Definitely. So one of the first things, just to kind of give an overview, one of the first things that the task force did when they came together was, and I know that the community, we haven't had a lot of community members. The meetings are open to the public. They're the first and third Wednesday of the month, 5:30 to 7:30. There's no other committees or task forces meeting that frequently. Normally they meet once a month. So, we have jumped in. And on top of that, there's a huge aspect of research and things that we're doing outside of those meetings. So it's an average of 10 to 30 hours of commitment per month that's away from our families that we're investing into the community. So first, I'd like to share that that's the commitment that these 13 individuals have done. Second, we came in and all of us are strong egos, and we've had some blunt, flat out, professional, but blunt conversations. Just frank conversations. We've each come there based on our expertise that the mayor chose to share. And I think there was 120 people that he chose from in order to choose the 13. And each was chosen because they have, there's 4 different aspects that the individuals have been broken down to. And that's prevention, intervention, enforcement, and reentry. And so basically 4 different, a lot of the individuals work in reinforcement, such as juvenile justice. Some people work in reentry. So that's the breakdown. And so initially that was all of the research that we were doing, was to reach out to the individuals. And we had a list of maybe 50 individuals who were, since 2008 to now, who were considered violent criminals. They each have been locked up or doing time. So we sent a survey to them, and a lot of these people participated and gave us the data. So we needed the research and the data first to not just think about that we know what we know, but to make sure that we have the proof. The next step was that we recently broke up into 4 different groups. And so there's 3 or 4 individuals in prevention, there's 3 or 4 in intervention, reinforcement, and or in enforcement and reentry. And each of them are meeting and coming up with all of the best recommendations and solutions to bring back to the group. And so I'm in the prevention, and we've had a few meetings. I'm in the meeting group with Pam Harden with the NAACP, and Chris Campbell with the Treetop Daycare, and Paul Prevost with who owns one of the biggest daycares here in town. And we've had a pretty open conversation about the 15 recommendations that each member of the task force gave to the different groups, but also we looked at it to see if there was an overall arching themes and what was the top 3 ideas that we could take back as far as the recommendations, and not looking at it in a sense of just what's the easiest thing to say, but what can actually change, what policies, what can actually change it for the long term so that Columbia can be in a different place. And so that's really the approach that I've went forward as, and I think it's one that's pretty positive. And so for the community at large who hasn't had a chance to participate or come to the meeting because they're working, we understand that, we know that. I give us maybe a C+ as far as being able to get that information and disseminate it out to the community, because it's tough to do it with no budget. But there is a process that's in place that I've been pretty impressed with. And Lorenzo, and you know, on the radio, we normally go in hard on organizations and whoever, that when it comes to making sure that you're doing a good job. And so I've held myself to that same standard.
All right, we coming down to the close. Can you give the information about the meetings that's going to be happening out in the public, and give our listening audience and our viewing audience how to participate, where they can, and so forth?
Great question. And so we're going to really need the participation from the wider community. What's going to happen is we didn't want to go to the community without something to offer them, but also we worked hard, myself, Dr. David Thomas, and Pam Harden, or that community participation team, came together to figure out a way, and you know, each of us, so the NAACP, myself, and Dr. David Thomas with the Interfaith Alliance, and served a lot of different boards, we came together, had an honest conversation and say, what do the people want? So what's going to happen is the recommendations that the task force, each different group has come up with, we're going to give those to the community. Let the community hammer it out. We're going to do our best to not just get the choir there, but to make it possible for the individuals that in the community that need to be there can be there without being judged. We're going to give them the opportunity to come, and whether you want to vent, whether you want to share a solution, you want to share an answer, you want to give an example, this is your opportunity.
Okay, and when that's going to happen?
So we're looking at the second week after Labor Day, so the second week in September. So I think Monday, September the 8th from 3 to 5 is one of the dates that we're trying to lock down. We're going to have a pretty power-packed panel that we're looking to work on. I know that we've already gotten confirmed. Mayor Sly James from Kansas City, they have a huge, the last 5 or 6 years, they have some impetus. They have a jump on what we're trying to work with. There's also a few other individuals who are just there. Of course, the mayor, the chief, and some different members of the community, but we're also, so there's one for the community at large. On that, later that same week, on I think Wednesday or Thursday, there's going to be one that's going to be held at the Progressive Church, that Pam is really going to be the one that's leading that. That's going to be one for parents and kids.
Okay.
So we're looking to have that environment that's going to be best for them. I think we're going to have Chief Burton that's going to be there, Dr. Elisa Warren with the Human Rights Commission is going to be there, and Dr. Peter Stiepelman with Columbia Public Schools is going to be there as a panel to listen. And these people that's their job to do that. And then there's going to be one that I'm really leading, is focused on just getting the youth there. It's going to be youth-led. We're going to set it up and then set the infrastructure, but we're going to listen to what they say. So I got DJ Rice and a few other individuals that I've reached out to help be on the panel for that. So it's going to be pretty powerful.
And where's that going to be held?
That's going to be held most likely at the Armory. I'm still trying to lock down the exact location. So it's either going to be at the Armory or the Ark. I prefer the Armory, but I'm still waiting on the confirmation.
Okay. Okay, we got a few more minutes for anyone in our audience that want to ask a question to my distinguished guests. And of course, if you still are listening, you can tweet us. That information is on your television, email. And again, after the show is off, we still, and Tyree will still be available.
Yes.
Won't you give them your contact information just in case they want to contact you about something further or want to ask you a question or want to be a part of those groups?
Excellent. And we're looking for, as far as the community participation plan, we're looking for members of the community that want to participate to come out. You know, it's interesting that in reaching out to the community, we've had so many young people to say, and I know they come to you too, Lorenzo, they say, you know, we want to do something. We want to give back. We want to be a part of this process. We want to lead. You know, I have a member of the group Bomb Squad affiliate, got a young man right here, Everett. He has his family. We got DJ Beats. We also have my beautiful wife, Nicolette Byndom, and members of the community that have stepped out to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And they're the ones that are leading. They're the ones that are communicating with the youth. They are the ones that are connecting with them. So we're reaching out to anybody to participate and want to be a part of it, because the mayor said it. He said, we will succeed or fail as a community. Exactly. So if you have beef, if you have a problem with any individual, put that aside so we can focus on a goal, which is having a better community.
What's your contact information?
Contact information, just you can go to my website, www.byndomstanton.com, Tyree Byndom on Facebook, or at Twitter. I'm just out there. So just TYREE, Byndom, BYNDOM. And so just internet search me.
Yes.
And you'll find me.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that have a burning question that you might want to ask my distinguished guest? I'm sure he would be happy to try to answer it. If not, then we are going to continue.
No questions?
Huh?
No questions? This is a vocal group that's out here in the audience, so I'm surprised.
This is new to them. We're going to have you back
okay.
on here again, and they'll be ready then. They'll probably have their questions loaded up. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in to what's going on. Without you guys, we won't be here. And this is all about getting the word out to you, getting information out to you that you can know what's going on in your community. If you have any suggestions about future shows or future guests, be sure to contact the staff at KATV. That information is on your screen, and we will definitely consider. I will definitely get out in the community to try to find some diverse guests that you guys want to hear some things about. It's all about us as a community, as Tyree alluded to. You know, the old African proverb is it takes a village to raise a child. And that's what it takes. It takes a community to stop some of these things. And that's what we're here for. We're going to do our best to make this the best community for our children to live in. It was a good community when I was growing up here. And like you said, you grew up here, and we made it. Yes. We got to make it where it's conducive for our kids to do better than us and do more than just make it, but thrive. And that's what we're doing. So thank you for tuning in. We would like for you to look at this. It's going to be re-aired throughout the week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday at 8:30. Visit the Cat TV website, and you'll get the times. You'll get the actual channels of the different stations. It's going to be re-aired. And be sure to think about participating. Please. As we go. We love you, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can do about it. Thank you.
Thank you.